No actual way. Well, I'll be honest, I was very desperate for any kind of positive content. I was in the middle of making a video on the arena game mode, because the entire time the game modes team is making some amazing things. I got an amazing talk with Jesse Cox where I got to teach him about the lore of League of Legends. But anytime anything positive happened, it kind of felt like nothing in the aftermath of the bad monetization that League went through. And well, I am so happy to say that Riot did something well. It is something really good, and dare I say, it is something that exceeded the expectations of many people. Because to be honest, our expectations were not that high anymore. Anyway, Riot came out with a new dev talk. Which, to be fair, felt a little bit like an emergency. Riot never does these dev talks this quickly. There is usually at least a week of preparations, but they said that they recorded this on February 25th and right now it is the 26th. So they were moving very quickly. But regardless, as if this was a normal dev talk, Meddler and Pabro are back. And they start the entire video very differently from a normal YouTuber apology. Because they just straight up admit they screwed up. There are no buts, no ifs, they just said that they were planning for something to happen, it didn't happen, and they screwed up. After which they also added that they know that they broke our trust. But they are still the same company that puts players first. Now, so far from the reaction I've seen on the internet, people are positive. But of course there are some people who just don't take this and the reputation is gone and there is nothing that can fix it. Anyway, here they explain that through all the memes and all the jokes and all the really hateful threats, the team was listening. I know, it's scary. After which they are now fully ready to just tell us what happened and what they are changing. With the very first topic being, of course, Hextech chests. Here they admit that they didn't fully grasp how much Hextech chests actually mean to people. To Riot, looking at the numbers, it was just a way for people to get free cosmetics. But they fully ignore the idea that Hextech chests could also be a good progression for people. Now here, some people may say that Riot is just saying stuff to say sorry. How is it possible that they didn't realize that Hextech chests are also a progression? Well, there is a reason why this could happen. And I fully believe Riot, because this happened in the past and we have all been there for it. You see, in case you don't remember, way back in the day, all Rioters used to have all content unlocked. This used to be just a thanks for working at Riot. It was like having your dad work at Nintendo. Anyway, back in the day when Rioters had everything unlocked, they didn't realize how much IP, which back in the day that used to be the free currency instead of blue essence, people needed to unlock all the rune pages and all the runes on top of new champions. They then realized that the Rioters were out of touch with the overall progression system, so they took it all down and they realized, yeah, farming IP was really bad. And that is the reason why the old rune system was removed. Rioters simply didn't know how bad it was because they weren't part of the progression, they had it all unlocked. And now, with Hextech chests, it seems like the exact same thing happened again, because many Rioters, even if they don't have everything unlocked, well, they already have everything unlocked by just being Rioters for a very long time and just by playing the game. Which means they didn't really feel the sense of progression from Hextech chests anymore. Which, sure, I understand that. It's still pretty bad this kind of insight was overlooked. And so, as a result, Hextech chests are coming back. I did not think I would be able to say this. But here things get suspiciously cool. Because starting next week with the Act 2 of the season, people will be able to get 10 free chests per act. That is 60 total Hextech chests per year. I believe this is like 4 or 6 more than we previously were able to get. I think previously we were able to get like 54 or 56 chests per year. So already this is an improvement. So every act you will be able to get 8 chests from the free pass. Now, as they mentioned, these are replacing the free seasonal skins you would normally be able to get, on top of replacing some of the randomized skins. Because as they heard from the feedback, people just preferred Hextech chests. Which kinda proves that their original idea was to replace Hextech chests with specific skins. But yes, waiting for your specific champion to get a specific skin you like in a season would take a very long time. And so this new system, let me tell you, is really good. Because as Medler mentioned, these 8 Hextech chests are pretty much replacing the old mastery system. Which means you don't really need skill to get the chests anymore. You can just play the game and you passively get progression through the chests. What also helps is that because it is not tied to masteries anymore, you can just play one champion and get all the chests eventually anyway. So in many ways, this is a big improvement over the old system that we used to have. But on top of this, they are also giving us 2 more Hextech chests from the honor system. I know, crazy day, isn't it? Here they just directly address the fact that yes, after the changes to the honor system, there wasn't really any incentive for people to behave. Now yes, again, having an incentive to be a good player sounds really dumb, but this is the League of Legends community we are talking about, so yes, you need incentive to not flame. But this honor system is not ready yet, so at first we will just get 2 more chests from missions in the game, but the plan is to later fully integrate these chests into the behavioral system. So, you better start behaving. Regardless, however it is tied to the honor system, great! I love this. After which, Pabro just quickly pointed out that when it comes to these Hextech chests, the drops will be exactly the same as they used to be. So there are no changes there. After which they talk about champion acquisition. So, this is an interesting topic, because in the past they talked about the fact that they can't just unlock all champions for all players at all times. This is not because they wanna rake in money from new champions. It was stated many times in the past that new champions simply don't make money. Nobody is buying them with real money, everyone is just using blue essence. But they can't unlock all champions to all players because it literally makes new players quit the game. This is something that's been a known issue in all kinds of games. When a new player enters the game, if there is too much to do, they just stop playing. This has been especially a massive problem with something like MMOs. So, some kind of gatekeeping through blue essence had to be present for people to actually play the game, but they still realized that they were being gatekept a little bit too hard, and so, starting with the next patch, all champion prices are going down 50%. Now, an interesting thing to mention here is that even though they didn't talk about this in the video, there is also a dev blog where they talk about the improved rewards found in the free pass. And here they talk about the 8 Hextech chests that are found there. There are 4 more free reward milestones, which also means that 4 were taken away from the paid version, with Grand Reckoning, Alistar and Rel being removed because those rewards now became Hextech chests. Now, interestingly enough, nothing is being said about those skins, like, are they just being removed? Like, yes, I understand that people didn't like them because they just felt like normal champions, and yes, Alistar was pretty much a chroma skin. But did they have to be entirely removed? Couldn't you just keep them as like free rewards? Like, why not? The skins are already made, I don't think anyone would really care. Look at Rusted Blitzcrank! I like that skin somehow. Anyway, they also removed the random skin because, again, more Hextech chests are in. They also added in more Mythic Essence to the paid version, and they talk about the blue and orange essence being unchanged. So I assume there is some kind of changing blue essence around, because every time you have a look at the tier where you get a blue essence, well, there the number just doubles. So I'm not exactly sure where they are being taken from. I'm gonna assume it is the other tiers. Regardless, champions are gonna be way cheaper. So the progression is gonna be pretty good. After which they talk about Exalted skins. That's right, they are also talking about gacha. With the first thing mentioned being that Mordekaiser is getting delayed. I honestly can't believe that. To quote them, they wanna better deliver on the core fantasy. And if you've listened to any kind of Mordekaiser main, you would know that people want one thing. Armor. And here I actually have a good idea for you, Riot. As I said, the armored version of Mordekaiser is way better than the naked version. In fact, the fully evolved version should be just the base version of the skin. So how do you achieve that without just scrapping the naked model which you already have, so that would be just a waste of money? Well, what if every time you level up an ability for the first time, you give Mordekaiser a piece of his armor? The first time you level up his Q, his mace can evolve, because, you know, his Q is the mace and it makes sense. The first time you level up his W, he gets his chest plate, because it's the armor. The first time you level up his E, he could get his helm. Which means that you are not fully scrapping the naked model. You are not just throwing money out of the window, but at the same time, you don't have to make players earn the armor in the game. If they paid $200 for the skin, sure, you can just make them play the first 3 levels naked. After which, they would just progressively get more armor. This way, you can give the skin a cool gimmick and you don't have to make it a toggle, because we know the toggles always break the code. Anyway, that's just an idea I had. More importantly, what they also mentioned is that all future Exalted skins are getting delayed. That's right, we are not getting an Exalted skin every season as was originally planned. Meaning that the gacha machine is gonna have some holes, and that was a big thing that people were really afraid of. We were simply getting too many Exalted skins that weren't that high quality, while also getting normal skins that were also even worse quality. So now, the Exalted skins will be less frequent, and in return, they should be higher quality. Which is something I might be fine with. I said it before, sure, if League is not sustainable with normal skins anymore, they can lean into the gacha system if they want. It is still bad, but they can do it if they tackle it properly. Which would be actually giving us things that might be worth the money. Which I don't think is that. But that is still ignoring the fact that the gacha system is technically gambling, which is quite bad. And we are not getting rid of that. Anyway, what they did not mention in the video, but they did mention it in the blog, is we will be making the promotional placement of Exalted skins less intrusive within the client based on your feedback. That's right, we will not see constant ads for Exalted skins all over the client anymore. This might be the best kind of hidden news we got. Anyway, then they also mentioned that in the future, some of the paid skins might be replaced with more mythic essence. They talk about this more in the dev blog. Basically, they realize that yes, we are getting a bit too many of those thematic skins, at least more than makes sense. Personally, yes, I like it when those skins are canon and they actually contribute to the story, not when they are just random. And so now, going forward, we will likely get about 3 thematic skins per season, with the rest likely getting replaced with mythic essence. Honestly, I am fine with this, it makes sense, good. Which is where we get back into the strange thing. They mentioned that in Act 2, the paid skins from the past will be Darius, Sion, and Talon. So again, is Rel and Alistar just getting removed? We simply don't know what's happening to those skins. They might be just gone. Which is funny because out of all of the skins, these 2 were the most canon. So please, Riot, just give them to us for free. Or at least like a reward for buying the Ambassa book or something like that, come on. Anyway, interestingly enough, another thing that wasn't mentioned in the video, but was mentioned on Twitter. Actually, no, it is a Twitter screenshot of a Reddit post. Anyway, Medler mentioned that the skins we are getting here will get improved. Sion will get some more clarity on his armor. Darius will get some tweaked animations because sometimes he's stretched weirdly. And Talon will get improved VFX on his ultimate. So the quality of the skins is going higher too. Which is where we get to another thing that also wasn't mentioned in this video. Or actually even in the dev blog. Which is the fact that LeBlanc's VGU is still coming out, but it should be coming out somewhere mid-May. If I put on my tinfoil hat, that is suspiciously close to the summer event, which makes me think maybe Riot is gonna tie the VGU to a new skin for LeBlanc. But I might be just making it up. After which they dive into Clash. Now I'll be honest, I am not invested in Clash at all because I don't have friends. So basically, they halved the number of clashes that would happen throughout the season, and so now they are back to their monthly schedule. Originally, they argued that clashes were quite bad for the integrity of the servers, meaning that usually the clash would just crash the server. But the next clash in March would be Earth, after which they will go back to normal Summoner's Rift, and then they just wanna hear from the community what people wanna see, if it's ARAM, Earth, or whatever. Again, I don't have a strong opinion on this, so next, your shop and Blue Essence Emporium are back as well. I'll be honest, I bought like one skin from your shop ever, so I am not really invested in this too. But I know people really wanted this, including the Blue Essence Emporium. Actually, that one is gonna be big. Especially with the new changes to Blue Essence. Which brings us to the end, where they pretty much just apologize for screwing up. They say that they will still continue to improve the game, according to the feedback, and that this update is not the end. This is just a good first step. So whatever feedback we will get, they'll try to adjust things. Which brings up the question. So what did we learn from this? Well, that complaining works. But what's really interesting here is that Riot was just really pushed into a corner here. Like, normally, companies have the strategies where they take things away to make people mad, and then they go back to their community and they give them things back, but worse, and people are still happy. This is a real strategy that happens all the time. But Riot didn't do that. I am pretty sure they specifically knew that people would be focusing on this. And so as they gave us things back, they also improved on them. This is what everyone should take away from this. All the things we got are actually better than they were before they took them away. This is the real thing that's blowing my mind. But what really helped with this is that there were real consequences for their changes. There were statistics floating around that about 20 to 15% of players left the game season to season, which is pretty huge. This is likely why League just had to act. But that also means that Riot's reputation is pretty damaged from all of this. I mean, there are some people who don't really care and they are just happy that League doesn't suck as much anymore. But to others, the damage had already been done, and no matter what Riot comes up with in the future, they will just look at things differently. I mean, if you go to the Twitter posts, you'll see a lot of people who are not even that mad at Pabro and Meddler. They are kinda the messengers of the news who have to face it all. And instead, people are really mad at the higher-ups at Riot. To which I would say, yeah, that's fair. What surprised me here is that I didn't expect a voice of reason from League's community. But yes, overall, the battle is far from being over. Which means that in order for them to repair their reputation and in order for them to bring players back, they will have to continue serving people with good gameplay. Because of course, gameplay is king. And thankfully, the Game Modes team is working on miracles. We'll talk about that in the next video. Which reminds me, there is one more thing that really started floating around. Even though we are getting Hextech chests back, the original reason for them being removed is that they were not sustainable. Well, Meddler actually replied to that. While we still need to make sure the business side of League is sustainable, this was clearly a poor way to try and do it in retrospect. Very damaging to the player experience, which made making a great game and a sustainable business become a conflict when it should be a synergy. We think we've been at our best. Historically, it's been because making something really good leads to sustainable business results in the long term. Which basically means, yes, Hextech chests are still not sustainable, but not having them is way worse than having them. So they will still need to figure out other ways to monetize League. Brace yourselves. And so, I'm just happy that this is the end of a very negative era for now. It really seems like they listened to our feedback, but it's not like we are ending on a positive note. We lost the Hextech memes. They were kinda really good.